For everybody, for anybody who doesn't know here, this guy on my left is Mike Anderson, our student body vice president. He also happens to be a member of the baseball team, which won 7-4 tonight and is going to the state tournament.
And for those of you who don't know who this guy is, this is our class president of 1991, Mr. Kai Richter. He's going to be our first speaker tonight.
Thank you very much. Today is the last lesson for the class of 1991. Almost 3 years ago, we set out on a journey that has changed every one of our lives. It has been a voyage of high expectations and disappointments, small victories and personal glories. But today we have reached the end of that long and painstaking road. Welcome to Hopkins High School Graduation Day 1991. Today there are no winners and losers, only survivors. Every one of us dressed in royal blue today has climbed his or her own way through 13 years of obstacles and assignments, duties and papers, but most importantly, emotions. What we have learned is not trigonometry or biology or psychology. No, what we have shared together by learning together is much more important than that. Speech class isn't about words, it's about learning to have courage in front of a group. Math isn't about equations, but paying attention to detail. Sports aren't about winning, but learning what we can accomplish as athletes and as people. High school hasn't been about books, but chapters of experiences. We have experienced what it feels like to be rejected and accepted, loved and ignored. We have felt anger and pain, pride and joy, frustration and hope. And we have learned how it all fits together inside the windows of our souls. Today, let the sun shine through that window. Today, for just one shiny, happy moment, look at what we have accomplished and what is still yet to come, rather than what we have lost along the way. Now is a time for reflection, but most importantly, thanksgiving. We have survived. Today is our day, and tomorrow is our world. And when we share a little of that sunshine, we make it a better world for tomorrow. Thank you very much. The first musical piece tonight, titled The End or the Beginning, will be sung by Anna Bosacker, Amy Cardamone, Gordon Gunn, Karen Harbury, Matt Jackson, Josh Larson, Aaron McDonald, and Chris Ringson.
Is this the end or the beginning of our dreams? Happiness, it seems, finds us in between. There comes a time when we remember through the years all the joys and tears when we were young. I can't help but wonder where we go from here. Will we be together or alone? I hear ringing in my ear. Can I face the storms on my own? Have I grown? It's not the end, but the beginning of our time. Now we're gonna find love and peace of mind. If we have learned from all the many rights and wrongs, There's a lot of songs still to be sung, and there will be no sorrow when I look back and sigh. Before we face tomorrow, you and I will make a new tomorrow. You and I. Take my hand together, we'll watch the rising sun, and know that new beginning has begun.
It's not the end, but the beginning of our dreams.
Our next student speaker is Angela Transrud.
Hi. Today, we celebrate our accomplishment. For each of us, there's a different path and plenty of anxiety. Close your eyes for a moment and envision someday off in the future. What will sustain us? Who will remain our friends? And how do we get there? We have all grown within our class as individuals. Circumstances changed as we ventured into high school. Our priorities changed a little. We met lots of people and learned everyone's name in sophomore gym as a group task. Some new acquaintances became our friends, or even our best friends. All the while, we were changing. Most of our childhood friends changed also. They were our great friends, then comrades, then a mere name we knew in the yearbook. Things will always be changing. It is scary to assess our high school friendships because change tells us that those ties may not exist tomorrow. Love between individuals is a part of all friendships. C.S. Lewis addressed this type of love as individuals seeking a common truth together. Some of our high school relationships are based on seeking a simple truth, calculating the velocity of a photon in physics, verb conjugations, the anatomy of a fetal pig, tolerance for alcohol, complaining about work, competition and scrimmage, and studying. Of course, there are more sustaining common truths that transcend the events of the present. Emotional security, answers to world problems, a higher power, why there is evil, what happiness is, and others that are more personal. So it is not really a wonder that the childhood relationships based on seeking a common truth among Legos, Pac-Man, Candyland, and strawberry shortcake dolls faded with those interests. And our strong friendships that stood the test of time so far may also have superficial, momentary interests, but they are supplemented with a truth that is more sustaining also. Those foundations are the key love that will determine if the friendship will continue in the future. Now it is our time to move on. For this moment is not a landmark. It does recognize and celebrate the summation of 13 years of growth and education, but it is only a pit stop. We as seniors have become pretty comfortable within our class in sophomore orientation. It would be much easier to stop time, capture the moment, bask in the glories of our accomplishments together, and cling to our confidence. Fortunately, we would get bored. When we reach a moment of comfort, our growth ceases. We constantly need to challenge ourselves to surmount the unknown. All those past memories of attempting something new, overcoming a fear, and expanding our realm of experiences are essential. Through our venturing into the unknown, we grew. We learned it is not so scary. Our fear of rejection lessened, and our confidence began to soar. Now we look at our past fears and laugh. Remember elementary school? We were afraid of the sixth graders, having to color a picture that required a pink or gray marker that wasn't in the Crayola 8-pack, not having enough friendship pins, or losing our favorite scratch and sniff sticker. The worst fear was forgetting to bring our shoes in the winter and wearing moon boots all day. Remember in junior high, relying on our friends as a telegraph to get messages to the opposite sex? Or worrying our friends would be in a different kitchen than us in foods class? The awkward anxiety of junior high dances? Then we used to worry about being late for class. Now late is just a given. The sophomore transition has several scary and exciting times to remember. Walking in front of the bleachers at football games, desperately searching for a group of friends to sit with. We'll never forget Big Kid, Little Kid and seeing Rucker Johnson wear a pink leotard. It was so scary, fun, and exciting, challenging to learn the names and the status of the seniors. It felt great to be included. We have been through a bomb threat together, changing of the policies, senior assassination, and how can we ever forget charismatic Dave Krupp and his unlimited supply of water weapons? Every time we explore into untried territory and surmount a fear, our confidence grows a little and our realm of life experiences waxes. Here we are today, at the pinnacle of a soaring high school confidence. At the same instant, it's time to grow, to learn, to discover, and to move on. Again, we will feel insecure, accept new challenges that are frightening, fun, and our confidence will begin to soar once again. Fortunately, it will not be a repeat of the same high school trials. We have matured intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Now we have a better understanding of who we are and of who we are not. We have gained an insight from our ever-expanding realm of experiences and surmounting fears. We live through them and we own them. Ahead, there's opportunity to challenge ourselves and go on. This insight will sustain us as we venture into the unknown areas of the future. Even if the other aspects of high school fade, as we continue to grow, our friendships, based on a sustaining truth, will stand firm, and our wisdom from living out those experiences will remain. We have no choice to stop time. Our life will go on. But we do have the choice to seek and explore future endeavors. We can view new challenges and fears as opportunity for growth and change. We can trust that we are equipped to go on. And most importantly, we can try. Thanks.
Our next musical number is entitled, Here We All Stand Together as One. It will be performed by Nathan Nani, Rucker Johnson, Kai Richter, Christopher Ringsman, and Jeanette Tidholm.
unite as a team,
together apart as one.
Separate by time, miles and space. It's up to us to find our place. It's up now for the trees.
A place of love for you and me.
Hold on to your visions, hold on to your dreams.
the time has come to unite as a team,
Together apart as one.
Our next student speakers will be Matthew Jackson and Tanya Muntz.
We would like to dedicate our speech tonight to Kelly Bailey, who would have been graduating with us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Jackson, and I would like to welcome you, the 1991 graduates, to our 25-year reunion. With me is Tanya Muntz, who is also a 1991 graduate, and she will be co-hosting our reunion together with me.
Thank you, Matt. It is hard for me, and probably for you as well, to imagine that it has been 25 years since we graduated from Hopkins High School as the senior class of 1991. Things really have changed around us. A weekend in space would have been unimaginable then. And do you remember that we actually used to get to school by bus or car?
I remember the Earth sign that was up in the mall. We sure were in trouble ecologically. Too bad things had to get as bad as they did before we started to do something about it. But look at us now. Alternative energy has become a way of life. But let's get back to 1991. It was our senior year, and despite the downtimes and controversies which sometimes left both students and faculty frustrated and angry, some of our most memorable experiences happened that year. Let's take some time to reflect upon those memories.
In the beginning of our senior year, we were faced with many changes due to our new school policy. Although we got a little tired of doing crossword puzzles and reading horoscopes in our assigned study halls, we got into the swing of things rather quickly. Soon to follow was the first Pep Fest of the year. Our MC, Mel Jacobson, showed us what having school spirit was all about. And did we have spirit?
You bet we did. And we weren't afraid to show it either. We proved that at the homecoming football game against Cooper when we stormed the field, at Williams Arena when our basketball team came so close to going to state, and when our baseball team, who won their game today and are going to the state tournament, and just by being the class we were.
Other events that also made the year special were the Jamoramas and Prom in the Barn, Senior Assassination, and not to forget Cow Pie Bingo.
Vacations were pretty nice too.
Yes, definitely vacations.
But one of the tragic events of that year, which had a great impact on our daily lives, was that our nation had to come face to face with war in the Middle East. We were confronted with the possibility of a draft for Operation Desert Storm. Some of our classmates had loved ones fighting in the Gulf, and others watched their home country, Israel, on the nightly news while fearing for their families. But fortunately, we did not lose any of our classmates, and the war officially ended after only a few weeks of fighting.
These memories, the good and the bad, were all part of our senior year, which we shared together. But after we graduated, most of us had our separate lives to lead. Graduation was essentially the end of the road we had traveled together for many years. When we graduated, we embarked on new roads, which led us into all different directions. Remember how we felt so ready to move on, and were so excited and yet so scared.
But as we traveled down our roads, things didn't always run as smoothly as we had planned. We all came to forks on those roads, and difficult decisions had to be made, decisions which determined our futures. Some of us hit gravel and were in for a bumpy ride, while some of us made turns to find unexpected newly paved roads. We all hit an occasional pothole and took some unexpected falls because we ignored the warning signs.
But as we traveled down our roads, things didn't always run as smoothly as we planned. But look at us now. What happened to the guy who flunked out of algebra, the class jock, the promising writer, or the aggressive executive in the making? And what about our yuppies, or the ones who chose to live life in the fast lane, or the guy who never had a date? Although many of the things didn't turn out the way we would have expected them to, it is comforting to see certain things that have withstood the test of time. Mr. Mossberg, for example, is still matching his socks to his sweaters. And good old Hopkins High School is still plodding on and turning out those ever so promising high school grads. These are the things that give us a sense of security and stability in this ever-changing world.
We've all traveled different roads, and whether they've been smooth, rough, straight, or hilly, we've all traveled here tonight to remember the memories and be together once again as the senior class of 1991. And tonight, after our celebration, we shall part again and go our separate ways. Some of us will explore new paths, and some will try to pick up where we left off. But one thing's for sure. When we get up and leave tonight, it won't ever be the same again. Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to introduce the final speaker before we all get our diplomas, the principal of Hopkins High School, Mr. Tom Bauman.
Thank you, Kai and Mike. Class of 1991, it's my special privilege to represent the entire Hopkins High staff in congratulating each and every one of you. We commend you for your unity, your spirit, your positive outlook, and your many accomplishments. I'd like to invite you parents and friends and family members here tonight to join me in standing and saluting this wonderful class of 1991. Thank you, students, for enriching our lives. During the Senior Awards program, we recognized our National Merit Scholars, our Presidential Scholar, and our Honor Graduates with distinction. They are listed in tonight's program. During our recent senior breakfast and program, we recognized individuals for their athletic, drama, music, and journalistic achievements. So I will not repeat that this evening. I do want to take one moment to express appreciation for us for all of those students and staff members who helped to produce the KHOP TV programs. KHOP gives us wonderful programming month after month, and tonight is videotaping this ceremony, which will be carried on the local cable channels. I encourage you to watch your schedules of those programs and look for an opportunity to create your own videotape of this ceremony. Thank you, KHOP. Angie and Tanya and Matt and I did not have an opportunity or did not take an opportunity to compare notes. But I'm struck by Angie's statement and her message that when we start feeling comfortable for a moment, we stop growing. And Matt and Tanya's references to the road that we travel. As I listened to the last choir concert, and particularly the last number, Lonesome Road, it reminded me of a book I had read a number of years ago, The Road Less Traveled, by Dr. M. Scott Peck, who did his undergraduate work at Harvard and completed his medical degree in psychiatric training at Case Western Reserve University. The Road Less Traveled is a book that has taught me much. I read selections from it tonight as a final lesson, one aimed at learning for life and one intended, while it is serious, to produce success and joy in all of your lives. While many of us want to believe if we were just doing things correctly, that life would be easy, Dr. Peck's book begins, the first sentence, life is difficult. And he goes on to say, this is a great truth, one of the greatest truths. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult. Because once it is accepted, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. Most do not see that the truth that life is difficult. Instead, they moan more or less incessantly, noisily or subtly, about the enormity of their problems, their burdens, their difficulties, as life should be easy. Life is a series of problems. Do we want to moan about them or solve them? Discipline is the basic set of tools we need to solve life's problems. Without discipline, we can solve nothing. What makes life difficult is that the process of confronting and solving problems is a painful one. Problems, depending upon their nature, evoke in us frustration, grief, sadness, loneliness, guilt, regret, anger, fear, anxiety, anguish, or despair. And since life poses an endless series of problems, life is always difficult and is full of pain as well as joy. Yet it is in this whole process of meeting and solving problems that life has meaning. Problems call forth our courage and our wisdom. Indeed, they create our courage and our wisdom. It is only because of problems that we grow mentally and spiritually. It is through the pain of confronting and resolving problems that we learn. As Ben Franklin said, those things that hurt instruct. It is for this reason that wise people learn not to dread, but actually to welcome problems and actually to welcome the pain of problems. Most of us are not so wise. Fearing the pain involved, almost all of us, to a greater or lesser degree, attempt to avoid problems. We procrastinate, we ignore them, we forget them, pretend they do not exist. We even take drugs to assist us in ignoring our problems. We attempt to skirt around problems rather than meet them head on. We attempt to get out of them rather than suffer through them. This tendency to avoid problems and the emotional suffering inherent in them is the primary basis of all human mental illness. In the words of Carl Jung, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. But the substitute itself ultimately becomes more painful than the legitimate suffering it was designed to avoid. The neurosis becomes the biggest problem. When we avoid the legitimate suffering that results from dealing with problems, we also avoid the growth that problems demand from us. Therefore, let us inculcate in ourselves the necessity for suffering and the value thereof. The need to face problems directly and to experience the pain involved. When we teach ourselves discipline, we are teaching ourselves how to suffer and how to grow. What are the tools, the techniques of suffering, these means of experiencing the pain of problems constructively that I call discipline? There are 4. Delaying of gratification, acceptance of responsibility, dedication to truth, and balancing. They are simple tools, and almost all children are adept in their use by the age of 10. Yet presidents and kings will often forget to use them to their own downfall. The problem lies not in the complexity of the tools, but in the will to use them. For they are tools with which pain is confronted rather than avoided, and if one seeks to avoid legitimate suffering, then one will avoid the use of these tools. The first tool, delaying of gratification. This is a process of scheduling the pain and the pleasure of life in such a way as to enhance the pleasure by meeting and experiencing the pain first and getting it over with. It is the only decent way to live. It is eating the cake first and then the frosting. It is doing the unpleasant part of the job first and then the enjoyable part. By age 12, some children are already able to sit down on occasion without any parental prompting and complete their homework before watching television. By age 15 or 16, such behavior is expected and considered normal. Why do a majority of people develop a capacity to delay gratification while a significant minority fail? Most of the signs rather clearly point to the quality of parenting as the determinant. Remember this point when you raise your own families. Responsibility is the second tool. We cannot solve life problems except by solving them. This may seem idiotically self-evident, yet it is seemingly beyond the comprehension of much of the human race. This is because we must accept responsibility for a problem before we can solve it. We cannot solve a problem by saying, "It is not my problem." We cannot solve a problem by hoping that someone else will solve it for us. I can solve a problem only when I say, "This is my problem, and it's up to me to solve it." Many seek to avoid the pain of their problems by saying to themselves, "This problem was caused to me by others or by social circumstances, and therefore it is up to other people or society to solve the problem for me. It is not really my personal problem." The extent to which people will go psychologically to avoid assuming responsibility for personal problems while always sad is sometimes ludicrous. A career sergeant in the Army stationed in Okinawa and in serious trouble because of his excessive drinking was referred for psychiatric evaluation and possible assistance. He denied his use of alcohol was a personal problem, saying, "There's nothing else to do in the evenings in Okinawa except drink." "Do you like to read?" I asked. "Oh, yes, I like to read for sure." "Then why don't you read in the evening instead of drinking?" "It's too noisy to read in the barracks." "Well, then why don't you go to the library?" "The library is too far away." "Well, is the library farther away than the bar you go to?" "Well, I'm not much of a reader." "That's not where my interests lie." "Well, do you like to fish?" I inquired. "Sure, I love to fish." "Why not go fishing instead of drinking?" "Because I have to work all day long." "Well, can't you go fishing at night?" "No, there isn't any night fishing in Okinawa." "But there is," I said. "I know several organizations that fish all night." "Would you like me to put you in touch with them?" "Well, really, I don't like to fish." What I hear you saying, I clarified, is that there are other things to do in Okinawa except drink, but the thing you like to do most in Okinawa is drink. Yeah, I guess so. But your drinking is getting you in trouble, so you're faced with a real problem, aren't you? This damn island would drive anyone to drink. His drinking continued, and he was separated from service in mid-career. The third tool of discipline, or technique of dealing with the pain of problem solving, is dedication to the truth. Truth is reality. The more clearly we see the reality of the world, the better equipped we are to deal with the world. Our view of reality is like a map with which to negotiate the terrain of our lives. If the map is true and accurate, we will generally know where we are, and if we have decided where we want to go, we will know how to get there. If the map is false and inaccurate, we will be lost. The fact most people, to a greater or lesser degree, choose to ignore this is that they believe that the route to reality is not easy. The more effort we make to appreciate and perceive reality, the larger and more accurate our maps will be. But many do not want to make this effort. Some stop making it at the end of adolescence. Their maps are small and sketchy, their views of the world narrow and misleading. By the end of middle age, most people have given up the effort. Only a relative few continue until the moment of death, exploring the mystery of reality, ever enlarging and refining and redefining their understanding of the world and what is true. If our maps are to be accurate, we have to continually revise them. The world is constantly changing. Glaciers come, glaciers go. Cultures come, cultures go. There is too little technology, there is too much technology. The vantage point from which we view the world is constantly changing. When we have children to care for, the world looks different from when we have none. When we are raising infants, the world seems different from when we are raising adolescents. When we are poor, the world looks different than when it does when we are rich. The process of making revisions, particularly major revisions, is painful, sometimes excruciatingly painful. The painful effort required seems frightening, almost overwhelming. What we do more often than not, and usually unconsciously, is to ignore the new information. We may denounce the new information as false, dangerous, heretical, the work of the devil. We may actually crusade against the new truth. Rather than try to change the map, an individual may try to destroy the new reality. Sadly, such a person may expend much more energy ultimately in defending an outmoded view of the world than would have been required to revise and correct, enlarge and improve it in the first place. And this brings us to the fourth tool. Balancing is the discipline that gives flexibility. Extraordinary flexibility is required for successful living in all spheres of activity. Mature mental health demands flexibility. In that flexibility that we strike and continually restrike a delicate balance between conflicting needs, goals, duties, responsibilities, directions, and so forth. The essence of this discipline of balancing is giving up. I remember first being taught this one summer in my 9th year. I had recently learned to ride a bike and was joyously exploring the dimensions of my new skill. About a mile from our house, the road went down a steep hill and turned sharply at the bottom. Coasting down the hill on my new bike that morning, I felt my gathering speed to be ecstatic. To give up this ecstasy by the application of brakes seemed an absurd self-punishment. So I resolved to simultaneously retain my speed and negotiate the corner at the bottom. My ecstasy ended seconds later when I propelled a dozen feet off the bike into the road and into the woods. I was badly scratched. I was badly scratched and bleeding, and the front of the the front wheel of my new bike was twisted beyond use from its impact against a tree. I had lost my balance. Balancing is a discipline precisely because the act of giving up something is painful. In this instance, I had been unwilling to suffer the pain of giving up ecstatic speed in the interest of maintaining my balance around the corner. I learned, however, that the loss of balance is ultimately more painful than giving up the required sacrifice to maintain balance. Let me give one quick example. To handle our anger with full adequacy and competence, an elaborate, flexible response system is required. We must possess the capacity to express anger in different ways. At times, it is necessary to express it only after much deliberation and self-evaluation. At other times, it is more to our benefit to express it immediately and spontaneously. Sometimes it is best to express it coldly and calmly, other times loudly and hotly. We therefore not only need to know how to deal with our anger in different ways at different times, but also how more appropriately to match the right time with the right style of expression. The same can be said of friendship and love, of balancing our time for ourselves, our families, our work, and our hobbies. In one way or another, this is a lesson I have continually had to relearn throughout my life. As we negotiate the curves and corners of our lives, we must continually give up parts of ourselves. The only alternative is giving up is not to travel at all on the journey of life. There are some great experts in the audience here tonight who have traveled this road and who know better than I that life is difficult. They've experienced this from lengthy personal experience, and they know the joy part too. These are your parents. Would you please stand and join me in giving a hand of love and appreciation to your parents? Thank you. As we present the diplomas this evening, I'd ask classmates to be sure that each and every student has that moment without distraction to receive the diploma and be honored by family and friends. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce the class of 1991 to our school superintendent, Dr. Arthur Bruning. Thank you.
On behalf of the school board, I am very pleased to accept the graduating class of 1991. To recognize that you have individually completed all of the requirements for graduation from Hopkins High School. And finally, I want to congratulate each one of you for having achieved as you have during the course of your education. I know many of you have gotten recognition for your achievement in school, but I want to take just a minute to congratulate each one of you, those of you whose contributions have been recognized and those of you whose contributions have not. You have achieved something that is special. I hope it starts you well through life, and I hope you will now come forward to receive your diplomas. Will the class please come forward?
Mike Amos.
Heidi E. Anderson.
Betsy Anderson.
Christy Anderson.
Heidi Ann Anderson.
Stacy Anderson.
Mike Anderson.
Wendy Anderson.
Travis Anderson.
Brent Asprod.
Sherry Asplund.
Kyle Barron.
Nate Awney.
Michael Bartlett.
Matt Barron.
Melanie Baumel.
Laura Bauer.
Amy Bibo.
Michael Bean.
Jennifer Belford.
Heidi Beckman.
Rebecca Bendel.
Lori Bendyke.
Kristen Berg.
Eric Berg.
David Barrett.
Kelly Bergeron.
Sonia Bertram.
Jennifer Barris.
Tommy Bai.
Sherry Beaker.
Joanne Burke.
John Bilheimer.
Mark Bleasy.
Chris Bierke.
Robert Bador.
Kara Bloden.
Anna Bosacker.
Jenny Bowling.
Tamara Brandt.
Mike Bradley.
Renita Breitenbucher.
Angel Breams.
Kenneth Brink.
Fika Brink, exchange student from Denmark.
Leanne Brusacorum.
Bart Brunink, exchange student from the Netherlands.
Dana Burmaster.
Jason Burford.
Brett Bernickel.
Gerald Burmeister Oliveros.
Amy Camp.
Barbara Busick.
John Canis.
John Canfield.
Bo Carlson.
Amy Cardamone.
Linda Carlson.
Jason Carlson.
Timothy Cassidy.
Amy Carlson Reese.
Rebecca Christensen.
Karen Carr.
Han Chung.
Alexander Christensen.
Michael Clarkson.
Donald Christensen, Jr.
Sarah Conley.
Sean Seelick.
April Christ.
Josh Collum.
David Cushmore.
Jennifer Cook.
Jennifer Dahlman.
Jennifer Crocker.
Thomas Davidson.
Frank Dahlman, Jr.
Christine Dennis.
Amy Davidson.
Matthew DeRozier.
Victoria Davis.
Christine DeVore.
Timothy DeRozier.
Dina Dritz.
Christine Detman.
Amy Dusabar.
Kimberly Dawes.
Derek Dysart.
Natalie Doobie.
Jennifer Edelston.
Heather Dunbar.
Brian Ishans.
Raleigh Early.
Robert Elstead.
Sarah Eichnuss.
Brian Urkala.
Donald Ellig.
Shauna Estrella.
Barton Erickson.
Jeremy Falk.
Jose Espinoza, foreign exchange student from Venezuela.
Megan Feeney.
Dana Evans.
Cynthia Ferguson.
Wendy Farmer, foreign exchange student from South America.
Amy Fisher.
Michael Feinstein.
Chad Fix.
Karen Pine.
Julie Fredrickson.
Ari Fishman.
Mike Freeman.
David Foster.
Gina Fridland.
Jason Freed.
Scott Frisky.
Timothy Frenning.
Katie Gardner.
Ilana Friedman.
John Gilkison.
Malina Galanska.
Carrie Gladen.
Matthew Garbus.
Jody Gowdy.
Mark Gittleman.
Hosina Greenstein.
Ryan Gady.
Joseph Grimes.
Kimberly Grant.
Brina Grossman.
Allison Gray.
Gordon Gunn.
Chad Gretsch.
Paul Gessner.
Michael Grover.
Derek Hagland.
Charles Gupta.
Molly Halverson.
Eric Hagel.
Kara Harbree.
Pamela Hallen.
Michelle Harris.
Michelle Hance.
Dane Haugen.
Sandra Hardy.
Jason Hayes.
Haley Adelstedt.
Lara Hemack.
Robert Hung.
Justin Hennessy.
Paul Hedke.
Christina Herzog.
Sherry Hendrickson.
Jeremy Heselrath.
Nell Herbert.
William Hiller.
Julie Herzog.
Patricia Hoff.
Julie Hayda.
Trisha Holton.
Peter Hocken.
Anthony House.
Jason Polasek.
Jonathan Huber.
Willie Horton.
Christopher Irving.
Mark Howard.
Douglas Jackson.
C. Simone Incisienmi.
Eric Jacobson.
Stephanie Iverson.
Jason Jernell.
Matthew Jackson.
Holly Johnson.
Eric Johnson.
Joshua Johnson.
Jennifer Johnson.
Matthew Johnson.
Kelly Johnson.
Rucker Johnson.
Molly Johnson.
Stephanie Johnson.
Sherry Johnson.
Jessica Josephson.
David Johnston.
Jeffrey Caffingist.
Julie Kaminsky.
Jason Kerber.
Tammy Keel.
Alana Quito.
Allison Carrick.
Ryan Chose.
Jason Keeble.
Aaron Clems.
Amy Klein.
Sam Klin.
Andrew Clevin.
Tanji Knox.
Julie Klusch.
Amy Cotterba.
Scott Coble.
Deborah Krausert.
Robert Kretz.
Jeremy Crisco.
Jenny Krob.
Alex Kroll.
Matt Cruz.
Daniel Krumsig.
David Krupp.
Michael Kuhlemeyer.
Scott Kaiseth.
Candace Lobbs.
Jennifer LaBounty.
Dave Lamar.
Anne Marie Lanning.
Kirk Langben.
Jennifer Larson.
Joshua Larson.
Leah Larson.
Nicole Larson.
Eben Bootsy Laurie.
Carrie Lawrence.
Fong Lee.
Catherine Lerfold.
Heidi Lerman.
Mana Ludbun Su.
Claxton Lewis.
Lisa Lewis.
Kimberly Lindy.
Corrine Lindborg.
Liza Liss.
Hildy Lindgren.
Cheryl Lovelace.
Diane Lukes.
Alex Lujan.
Mark Lucas.
Jeffrey Lingholm.
Michelle Lynch.
Brian Magnuson.
Michelle Mady.
Molly Malik.
Patrick Mahoney.
John Mapes.
Kevin Mann.
Carrie Martinson.
Chad Merrick.
Anna Molly, exchange student from Italy.
Mark Masters.
Jeffrey May.
Kelly Maxwell.
Crystal McClure.
Jesse McCambridge.
William McGannon.
Aaron McDonald.
Sarah Medchill.
Robin McFeeters.
Jennifer Meharada.
Ryan Meek.
Exchange student from Italy, Fabio Maroni.
Jeremy Melander.
Erica Meyer.
Becca Mashevsky.
Jonathan Miller.
Eric Miller.
Roxanne Morefi.
Brian Maxdorf.
Anna Molyneux.
Eric Mullen.
Andrea Morrow.
Christopher Moritz.
Exchange student from France, Gilles Mott.
Joe Moskowitz.
John Mulhouse.
Mia Mueller.
Chad Murphy.
Tanya Muntz.
Alexander Merle.
Melissa Murphy.
Brian Nelson.
Bradley Nelson.
Christopher Nelson.
Craig Nelson.
Daniel Nelson.
Elizabeth Nelson.
Jeffrey Nelson.
Leo Nelson.
Monica Nelson.
Philip Nelson.
Heather Nerin.
Don Wynn.
Tin Wynn.
Roberta Nielsen.
Julie Noddle.
Joseph Nolan.
Travis Nolden.
Chad Nordby.
Wendy Nordstrom.
Michael Novak.
Rebecca Nolan.
Brendan O'Sullivan.
Christopher O'Sullivan.
Michael Ohlers Swanson.
Chad Ogle.
Gunners Ogrens.
Anthony Ojeda.
Curtis Olson.
Christina Olson.
Jeremy Olson.
Jennifer Owens.
Martha Parrish.
Nicole Parker.
Eric Paulson.
Ryan Pink.
Carrie Perkins.
Brian Pika.
Ted Petrosky.
Anna Pisarenko.
Brandy Pico.
Charlie Pruin.
Benjamin Pitzel.
Darren Ramsden.
Kian Pruen.
Erica Rasmussen.
Daniel Reeves.
Rebecca Reinhardt.
Heather Rendy.
Raymond Renner.
Paul Reynolds.
Ted Rich.
Kristen Ryland.
Kai Richter.
Tammy Robinson.
Christopher Ringsman.
Emily Rohr.
Jeff Roeder.
Terrence Rose.
John Rosai.
Andrea Rosenberger.
Wendy Rose.
Regina Rudd.
Christine Rounds.
Paula Rutkowski.
Carrie Ruhr.
Tracy Sanders.
Julie Reinders.
Kimberly Sandler.
Kent Sanderson.
Shane Schmidt.
Nathan Shermer.
Timothy Schroeder.
Aaron Schneider.
Matt Schwanz.
Heidi Schrader.
Shelley Semler.
Our exchange student from Germany, Juliana Schultz-Gibbons.
Allison Shaw.
Kevin Syme.
Dean Schiff.
Jennifer Shandley.
Eric Smith.
Catherine Shearer.
Lisa Smith.
David Simons.
Valerie Smith.
Koya Smith.
Josh Soldo.
Matt Smith.
Eric Spees.
Mary Smoliak.
Amy St. Marie.
Darren Spees.
Lisa Staskovig.
Greg Speaker.
Daniel Steele.
Rachel Standkey.
Janet Stile.
Matthew Stauner.
Jason Strom.
David Steele.
Monica Sant.
Kelly Steinberg.
Bradley? Bradley? Dawn? Carrie Tate.
Christina Stryker.
Nave T.
Bradley Sutton.
Daniel Thorman.
Dawn Savor.
Eric Toso.
Linda Tower.
Angela Trangsrud.
Eric Thompson.
Michael Ung.
Jeanette Tidholm.
Rachel Sloan.
Vu Tron.
Christopher Vatlin.
Brian Uhorn.
James Vessera Jr.
Jennifer Van Houten.
Renee Van Gunten.
John Van Deventer.
Stephanie Wall.
Tracy V.
Charles Walensky.
John Bolden.
Troy Wallen.
Corinne Wagoner.
April Weber.
Timothy Waldusky.
Marna Wiseman.
Brian Valerius.
Joanna Werner.
Tony Weaver.
Theodore Wiegand.
Rachel Weisberg.
Melanie Wilson.
Allison Welch.
James Winstead Jr.
Kelly Went.
Todd Worth.
Brian Whitley.
Casey Worrell.
Stephen Williams.
Jennifer Zastro.
Stacy Wilson.
Leslie Zorad.
Danielle Winther.
Carrie Zazgornik.
Carrie Wolter. Ready? Kareen Yeri. Gregory Zilberg. Howard Zuber. And the last name this evening, from Germany, Marcus Zernstein.
Congratulations to all of you. The class of 1991 is dismissed.